Hi, welcome to PrimeTime Pickleball. My name is Jordan Briones, and in today's video, we're going to go over the top 9 pickleball tips that we think can transform your game. So without any further ado, let's jump right in. All right, so let's get started here. If you guys don't know, I have a tennis background and I played a lot of tennis before pickleball. So we really think that these tips, like if someone were to tell me these things, I think it would have really helped me accelerate my game a lot quicker. But even if you don't have a racket background, these tips can really help you out. And let's start with the first one. All right, so tip number 1, use a continental grip. Now, I really couldn't stress this enough. In the game of pickleball, unlike tennis, the court is a lot smaller and you have a lot less time to react. Especially if you're at the non-volley zone, we really recommend a continental grip because you can pretty much hit any shot that you need to. And also, you don't have a lot of time in between shots, so having one universal grip that you can use up at the non-volley zone is very beneficial to you. So get used to having that continental grip and playing with that. And here's a picture of it right now. We'll kind of show you how it looks. All right, so now let's jump into tip number 2, and that is the power game is A-okay. Now, if you like driving the ball or you have some sort of background where you like to hit the ball hard, there's nothing wrong with that. You might have been labeled as a banger, but the fact of the matter is that's a key skill, is speeding up the ball and hitting the ball hard. Now, with that said, realize that you want to be able to do it at a high percentage. So if you are not making those drives at a high percentage rate, then it's probably not a good play for you. Now, when I drive the ball, I really want to keep it low to the net and sometimes take a little bit of pace off of the ball, trying to force my opponent to get a lower contact. And also, one other tip when you're driving the ball is to really keep it away from your opponent's torso. If you can keep it and make them stretch and reach to their forehand or to their backhand, that's a much better shot. And lastly, along with having a power game, don't neglect the soft game, which leads us into tip number 3. All right, so now let's move on to tip number 3, and that is understand the soft game and understand why it's used and how to use it. All right, if you are constantly hitting hard and speeding up the ball all the time, now you can get away with that in certain levels and against certain players, but you will find out as you move up into higher levels, you're going to have to develop a soft game, hitting third shot drops, hitting resets, and just hitting neutral balls into your opponent's non-volley zone. It's just a key element of pickleball, and you're going to have to learn it. I like to see it as really 3 different scenarios that you're in a pickleball point. You're either number 1 attacking, number 2 defending on the defense, or number 3 kind of in a neutral position and you're going to want to play a neutral shot. So this definitely doesn't mean that dinks and hitting drops can't be offensive or aggressive balls, but there are going to be times that you're going to have to play neutral soft shots just so that you can come in and make it up from that baseline to the non-volley zone. Or sometimes if you get pulled back off the line and they're attacking you are going to have to learn how to set those shots in so that you can really get back up to the line with your partner. So that's tip number 3. You really want to understand the soft game. Go watch a lot of pro matches and you'll see that they are experts in hitting hard and hitting soft. They know when to pull the trigger and when to slow the game down. So now let's jump on to the next tip.
When you implement the tips we're sharing in today's video, we're confident it will help your game. As helpful as these tips are, they're only part of the story when it comes to playing winning doubles pickleball. If you want to learn all the strategies you'll need to dominate the doubles court, then you'll want to check out our complete doubles system so you have a clear A to Z plan to follow. Because when you have a clear and proven plan, you can confidently and systematically win more points in games and have more fun on the court. Go to doublesystem.com today to learn all about it. All right, let's get back to today's video.
All right, so tip number 4. Now this tip we really believe can transform your game, and it really actually took me a while to get this, maybe over a year, to really comprehend how vital this is. And that is attack down and away. So what we mean by this is that you don't want to attack all the time right towards your opponent's body, because usually they have their paddle ready out in front. If you can, you want to take your attacks and hit them low and more away from them, so that you're having them stretch or reach, and it's just not going right at their body. So you will see at the highest levels of play, you will see many players really picking good spots and locations when they're attacking their opponent. They're not always hitting the ball right at their torso all the time. It could be really easy to, have that as a target. In the beginning, when I started playing, it was really easy to get a high ball and try to hit your opponent right in the chest. But really, as you move up in levels, you'll see how effective it is when you're volleying the ball down, getting at their feet, or hitting away from their body. All right, so now let's jump into tip number 5, and that is paddle position. Now there are a lot of nuances for where to place your paddle or your ready position, but in this tip I really want to talk about when you're up at the non-volley zone. Okay, generally there's 3 different ways that people teach paddle position. Okay, so there's this one where I have, let's say if I had a clock right here in front of me, this is 12 o'clock facing the camera. Okay, and then there is right here where is 9 o'clock, okay, just in this backhand mode, and making sure that this paddle face is facing the camera there and blocking like this. Okay, and then what I like to teach, or what we generally teach, is to have your paddle position around 10 or 11 o'clock. And the reason is that when you are playing pickleball, especially up at the non-volley zone line, you are going to hit the majority of your volleys and shots with your backhand, especially on the defense. So when we're talking about paddle position and ready position, I'm really talking about playing high percentage. Now, since you are going to take most shots with the backhand, because you can block everything around here and low, it makes sense to favor the backhand slightly. Now, I don't like players putting in this position, because if they get a high forehand or something on this side that they have to hit with their forehand, they have a long way to go to here, right? So that's why I would slightly favor it here on the backhand, just in case I need to defend. And then, if I have this paddle pointed to 10 or 11 o'clock, I could easily come here and, hit a forehand put away if I need to. All right, so now let's jump into pickleball tip number 6, and that is have compact and short swings and strokes. Now, coming from tennis, I'm used to a bigger court, and also, I'm used to taking these big loopy swings, and, with forehands and backhands, even with volleys coming across like that. Now, the problem is when you play the game of pickleball, everything's a lot faster, the court is smaller, and the ball is going to come back at you at a faster and quicker rate. So we really want in all of our strokes to be really compact, whether you're hitting volleys or you're hitting drives, everything that you're hitting swinging volleys, we really want it to be compact, because what's going to happen is after you hit that shot, you really want to have a short time to get back into ready position, because no matter what shot you hit, that ball can be coming back to you a split second later, and you really want to make those strokes compact. So, like for example here, instead of hitting a volley coming way here and swinging, and then I have to get back into ready position just in case they block the ball back, I really want to keep my swings short and compact, so that when I'm finishing my shot, I could quickly get it back to ready position in case I need to defend. All right, so now let's jump into tip number 7, and that is always be ready for the fast ball or sped up ball. Now, in the game of pickleball, no matter where your opponent's at, what kind of body position, where they're hitting the ball, and even how low their contact is, I urge players to always be ready for a sped up ball. Why is this? Because you never know when they're going to do it. And if you're always ready for a fastball, then if they hit a slow or neutral ball, you'll always be ready for that. You don't want to be caught off guard. Always be looking for them to hit a faster ball or speed up the ball. So your mindset is, always ready for that ball so you don't get caught by surprise. And a little bonus tip here is to always be ready for that ball to come back. Now, I can't tell you how many times players have attacked me and they thought it was a put away, but I just had my paddle right there and I got it right back. And they see the ball go right by them and then they're just surprised and then they end up losing the point. We always want to make sure that really the point's not over until that ball bounces on the court the second time. No matter how good of a shot that we think we hit, make sure that after you hit your shot, you're not admiring your shot or thinking it's a put away. The better and better players you play, they're going to get to more balls. So every shot that you hit, be ready for that next ball until the point is finally really over. All right, now let's jump into tip number 8, and that is let the ball come to its apex. Now, I see lots of players, especially coming from a tennis background or other racket sport backgrounds, and even if you don't, I think this is a really good tip for you. All right, so when the incoming ball is coming your way, you really don't have an advantage to hit that ball off the rise or right after it bounces. Let that ball come into you no matter what, if it's a return or if it's a dink. You want to let that ball come and bounce at its highest peak so that it gives you a higher contact point and it just creates an easier ball to hit. I see lots of players trying to play balls right after the bounce, and that actually makes it a lot harder to control. So if you can, take it at its apex and then hit the ball. All right, so now let's jump into the 9th and final tip, and that is be patient. Now you'll see the top players in the world have these really long rallies. And why is this? Now, this doesn't happen every single point, but what you'll notice is that when the game gets really tight, you will see the players really be strategic and really be patient on when they're gonna pull the trigger. Let's quickly imagine the game of chess. I know a lot of people like to compare pickleball to the game of chess, and I think this is a really good comparison. Now, in the game of chess, when you start, are you assuming that this game is going to be over really quick? No, the game of chess is a long, drawn-out strategic game, moving pieces and trying to capitalize on your opponent's holes and weaknesses and trying to put your opponent in check, put pressure on them, and eventually putting them in a position where you have a checkmate. Now, I think the same can be said about pickleball. Now, there's the serve and the return and the third shot, but once all opponents are up at the net, you really have to figure out the weaknesses of the players and create holes and gaps and really put pressure on them. So I would call that, kind of putting them in check. And then you're trying to set up a high ball or a put away ball that you can end the point with, which would be a checkmate. So this is why I like to view and compare pickleball to chess, because there are a lot of moving pieces and moving parts, and there's a lot of things that you're going to have to adjust and shift as you play this game, and you're going to have to try to exploit their weaknesses so that you can capitalize on those things, and then you can end up winning the point and winning the game. All right, so that was our top 9 pickleball tips that we really think can transform your game if you really understand them and apply them. If someone told me these top 9 things when I first started and I applied them, I really think that I could have raised my level a lot faster. These are really good ones to know and to practice on, and like we said, we really think that it can improve your game. So thanks for watching us in this video, and we'll see you in the next one.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like.
Thanks so much for watching. For more free video lessons, please visit primetimepickleball.com. But before you head on over there, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on any future videos. Also, for PrimeTime Pickleball shirts like this and other great apparel, please visit ptpgear.com.